Sejanus Plinth. I love him, truly. But we need to talk about something that is hard to admit. Sejanus was reckless, painfully, tragically reckless. But what drove that recklessness? Was he a victim of circumstances he never chose? Was he a boy drowning in trauma, pretending he was fine? Was he quietly suicidal, overwhelmed, unsupported, and living in a world where therapy didn't exist? And why in his world did consequences never seem to apply to him until the very moment they destroyed him? These are the questions we need to answer if we want to understand Sejanus Plinth. Not the symbol, not the matter, but the boy who was falling apart long before anyone noticed. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are diving into the psychology of Sejanus Plinth, the boy who cared too much, felt too deeply, and never stood a chance in a world built on cruelty. Sejanus was born in District 2 and lived there until around age 8, an age where a child fully understands friendship, belonging, community, emotional safety, and fear. He wasn't too young to grasp hardship, he wasn't too young to remember suffering, and he wasn't too young to form deep emotional bonds. This is why the photograph Coriolanus later finds, Sejanus smiling beside his district classmate during peacekeeper training, hit so hard. It's not just nostalgia, it's identity, it's proof of a childhood that was violently severed. When the Plinths moved to the capital, Sejanus lost his friends, his culture, his emotional grounding, his sense of place, the life he understood. This wasn't a normal move. It was a psychological displacement. And displacement at a young age often leads to a fractured identity, something we see manifest in Sejanus over and over again. The capital did not welcome Sejanus, it consumed him. Capital children grew up in a culture built on vanity, spectacle, cruelty, superiority, emotional apathy, and Sejanus, empathetic, sensitive, morally grounded, was the opposite of everything they understood. His classmates even formed an actual campaign to make his life miserable, targeting his district roots, his values, his compassion, everything that made him different. And while everyone else participated, Coriolanus never joined in. He wasn't particularly kind, but he wasn't cruel. To someone as isolated as Sejanus, that neutrality felt like safety. It created a father-to-son attachment. Sejanus clung to Coriolanus as the one person who didn't actively try to break him. So the classmates attacked him not physically, but socially, which is often worse. They went after his values, his idealism, his sensitivity, his deep moral compass. This wasn't teasing. This was identity erasure. He lost his district identity, but the capital refused to grant him a capital identity. He existed in identity limbo, a psychological no man's land where he belonged nowhere. This is the root of his instability. Strabo Plinth, the father who saved his life and broke his future. People often misunderstood Strabo Plinth. Yes, he became rich during the war by taking over capital ammunition production after the Snow lost their factories in District 13. Yes, that move appears opportunistic, but beneath all that success was something simple and human: fear. And while Strabo could have used his wealth to help districts, he didn't. Not because he was cruel, but because he was terrified. Terrified of losing Sejanus, terrified of the ripping, terrified of being powerless again. He understood the brutality of the Hunger Games, the suffering of district life, how little protection morality offers, how close Sejanus himself had been to becoming a tribute. He moved his family to the capital, not for privilege, but to save his son's life. And once there, he shielded Sejanus from everything trouble. He paid it away. Humiliation, he paid it away. Consequences, he paid them away too. But this created something psychologically dangerous. Learned safety without learned caution. Sejanus grew up believing speaking out fixes problems. Morality protects you. Fairness wins. Someone will always save you. Beautiful beliefs, heartwarming beliefs, but little belief in Panem. Strabo protected Sejanus' body, but unintentionally left his mind completely unprepared for the capital. He never taught him how to read dangers, how to adapt, how to regulate his emotions, how to navigate capital power structures, how to transition between two radically different cultures. Strabo saved Sejanus' life physically, but set him off for emotional devastation. This was Strabo's tragic failure as a father. The compassion he inherited from his mother. If Strabo gave Sejanus protection, his mother gave him compassion. She nurtured empathy, gentleness, moral clarity, emotional sensitivity. But in Panem, compassion is a weakness, a liability, a threat. Where capital children learned apathy, Sejanus learned to feel everything. He was an empathetic absorber, someone who internalizes the suffering of others as if it were happening to himself. In a brutal society, that is a psychological curse. Sejanus wasn't built for the capital, he wasn't even built for the world. The Marcus assignment, survival's guilt reborn. Everything breaks open when Sejanus is assigned Marcus, a tribute he knew from District 2. Marcus wasn't just a tribute, he was a symbol. He represented the boy Sejanus used to be, the boy Sejanus could have been, the community he lost, the home he still grieved. Seeing Marcus in chains triggers survivor's guilt, a condition where someone feels they don't deserve the life they have. So when Sejanus tries to trade tributes with Coriolanus, he isn't being dramatic, he's trying to survive a psychological implosion. When Coriolanus suggests giving Marcus to someone else, Sejanus refuses. I'm not handing Marcus over to anyone else. This is trauma bonding, loyalty driven by guilt, not logic. Seeing Marcus' body bloodied, hung, displayed, destroys Sejanus. In that moment, he realizes the capital is monstrous. District lives mean nothing. He will never belong. Compassion cannot fix anything. He's powerless. His scream, calling them monstrous, isn't a tantrum, is years of suppressed trauma exploding. This isn't the beginning of his breakdown. This is the moment his breakdown becomes visible. Breaking into the arena is symbolic suicide. Sejanus runs into the arena in a state of emotional and psychological collapse. This is not rebellion, this is suicidal ideation. He wants his death to expose the capital. But Coriolanus crushes that hope. They will quietly remove your body and say you died of the flu. Sejanus' stunned reaction, they won't show it, reveals how sheltered he truly was. He didn't understand censorship, propaganda, the capital's control of information. His idealism clouded reality so intensely that even his death wouldn't make a statement. The final lifeline, clinging to Coriolanus. Immediately after the arena incident, Sejanus wasn't just shaken, he was psychologically shattered. His world had collapsed, and in that moment of extreme vulnerability, Strabo arrived with a desperate deal to save his son. But Sejanus made one final demand. He refused reinstatement unless Coriolanus graduated too. This reveals his need for shared fairness, his emotional dependence on Coriolanus, his desperation for one stable connection in a world that felt monstrous. Coriolanus wasn't his best friend, he was Sejanus' anchor, the only person who didn't completely reject him after the meltdown. This wasn't logic, it was survival. Sejanus was trying to pull the one connection he trusted into safety with him, so he wouldn't face his future alone. District 12, exile instead of therapy. After everything, the trauma, the guilt, the breakdown, Sejanus didn't get help, he got exiled. District 12 reopened all his wounds, amplified his guilt, triggered his trauma, immersed him in suffering he couldn't stop absorbing. Instead of healing, he deteriorated. He thought becoming a peacekeeper would let him help people, that he could finally do good. But when he realized peacekeepers enforced the very oppression he despised, his psyche fractured again. He wasn't coping, he was spiraling. Joining the rebels. Idealism without strategy. Sejanus didn't join the rebels because he had a plan. He joined because he was drowning. He needed purpose, belonging, meaning, redemption for Marcus, a way to stop hurting. But in his desperation, he didn't consider surveillance, consequences, reality, survival. This wasn't a calculated act of rebellion. It was trauma-driven impulsivity. The frantic grasp of someone who saw no other escape. He wasn't thinking clearly, he was trying not to break. Sejanus Plinth did not die because he was reckless. He died because he felt too deeply. He cared too much. He believed too strongly in fairness. He was emotionally unprepared. He was traumatized, displaced, and isolated. He was overprotected physically and underprepared psychologically. He was desperate for belonging in a world designed to deny it. His downfall wasn't a moral failure, it was a psychological inevitability. Sejanus believed in what the world should be, but he lived in a world sharpened to destroy anyone who dared to care. He was built for kindness. Panem was built for cruelty, and that's why Sejanus Plinth remains one of the most tragic figures in the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think there was one moment, just one, that could have saved Sejanus? Let me know your thoughts below. And if you love deep psychological breakdown like this, don't forget to like and subscribe. This will help the video reach more viewers. Thank you for watching, and may your compassion be your strength, not your downfall.